Dear students, yesterday I had explained you about the derivatives, and yesterday it was the questions that how to calculate derivative. Question is here: how to calculate derivative? How to calculate derivative? It was the question in the previous lecture. How to calculate derivative? So first of all, derivative can be calculated by two ways. The first one is that principal method. It can be also said to be rule method, or it can also be considered as definition method. Definition method. Principal, rule, and definition methods all are the same methods. By principal method, the same procedure. By rule method, the same procedure. By definition method, the same procedure. I mean to say you that principal, rule, definitions all are same or single methods. In the same way, the second is general method. General method. The first is either principal, either rule, either definitions, and the second one is general method. In general method, you have to remember that you should have to use some of the techniques like as addition rule, subtraction rule, product rule, quotient rule, then after power rule, chain rule. So these are the techniques by which you should have to calculate the derivative by general method, but you should understand this type of rule is not permitted if you are going to make the derivative by principal method or rule method or definition methods. So these rules are only for the general methods. This rule is not permitted while you are going to make by principal or rule or definition method. I am going to give you one questions. The question is that find the derivative of 3x square, and here is the condition by the definition method. By the definition method, instead of definition method, there may be rule method, there may be principal method. So don't worry, my dear students. By any methods, principal, rule, or definitions, you should consider the same procedure. So here, first of all, you have to write down solution. What you are going to find out? The derivative of 3x square. So you let here y is equal to 3x square. It is considered to be equation 1. You can suppose z is equal to also, you can suppose w is equal to also, but simply in our practice there is the systems or the habits to write y is equal to 3x square. But if you are interested to write z is equal to 3x square, you can. Now while you write y is equal to 3x square and supposed to be equation 1, then after you have to write down here, let the LHS component is y, so delta y. If there would be z, delta z. If there will be else any, then you have to use delta and the component what you have. So let delta y and then after x, so you have to write delta x. Let delta y and delta x be a small increments. In the first component is delta y, so write down y. The second component is delta x, so write down x respectively. We have. Now you go on increment y plus delta y equals to 3x square plus delta x. But if you write like as this, then it will be a wrong procedure. Why? Because the language we had written delta x is increased in x, delta x is not increased in 3x square. We had written delta x is increased in x. So if you in haste or in hurry in examinations, if you do 3x square plus delta x and y plus delta y, then it will be wrong. So be concentrate about this step, and you have to write down here y plus delta y equals to 3 and x square. So x plus delta x square, x cube, x plus delta x cube, x 4, x plus delta x 4. In this way you should have to write it. Now you suppose equation 2. Now you have to subtract. Now subtracting equation 1 from equation 2 we get so y plus delta y, so write down y plus delta y LHS minus LHS minus LHS. So y plus delta y minus y equals to 3x plus delta x whole square minus 3x square. LHS minus LHS, RHS minus RHS. So y plus delta y minus y equals to 3 cos x plus delta x whole square minus 3x square. So simply you cut it y minus y and you write down here delta y equals to 3 x plus delta x whole square minus 3x square. Now the step is here delta y equals to 3 x plus delta x whole square minus 3x square. So write down delta y equals to 3 a plus b whole square ax square plus 2ab plus b square. So 3 is multiplied to a square 3x square 2ab 3 to the 6 x delta x plus 3 delta x square minus 3x square. Simply you cut down 3x square minus 3x square, or delta y equals to 6x delta x plus 3 delta x square, or delta y, what is common here, delta x, so write down 6x plus 3 delta x. So remember the step in which you have common delta x, from that step you should stop your hand, and then after you should have to divide by the same common term. So you write the language here dividing by delta x on both sides and taking limit delta x tends to 0. We have, you should have to divide both sides by delta x. Whenever you get or you had delta x as a common, then the further step you should have to divide by delta x on both sides, and also you have to take limit delta x tends to 0 on both sides. So dividing by delta x on both sides and taking limit delta x tends to 0 we have. So delta y, write down delta y equals to delta x 6x plus 3 delta x by delta x. We are going to divide by both sides. Delta x limit delta x tends to 0, delta x tends to 0. In equation you can write limit delta x tends to 0, limit delta x tends to 0, delta x by delta x. So simply you divide, cut down delta x and delta x. Or now remember here, limit delta x tends to 0, delta y by delta x. In the previous lecture I had told you, either you write this or either you write dy by dx, both are same. It is in the limit form and it is without limit form. So limit delta x tends to 0, delta y by delta x, or dy by dx, both are same, Now 6x here is not the inclusion of delta x, so you write here 6x plus, but here is delta x, so here we have written delta x tends to 0. So finally we write the value delta x tends to 0 or delta x equals to 0 here, because we are going to calculate the derivative. Or d by dx, y is equal to, we had let 3x square, so write down d by dx y 3x square equal to 6x. So it is the final result of derivative. So it is the meaning we get here, the derivative of 3x square is equal to 6x. It is by the principal method or definition method or rule method.